Hello and welcome to this video. Yes, the title says it all. I think Americans should have more guns. My vantage point is not black or white. I say that most issues in life should not be taken as black and white because there are nuances. And in this case, the nuance is pretty clear and evident, and I will talk about it. Personally, I want to preface this by saying that this is not a partisan issue. It's not a Democrat, Republican, liberal, or conservative. It is merely an issue of what I call common sense, what I deem common sense. And I will share it with you and you tell me what you think, okay? I personally am not pro-gun. I'm anti-violence and I'm not for the NRA or anything like that. But I think that Americans should have more guns, and here's why. The reason being that we shouldn't be dealing with life as we would hope that it is, or that we would have hoped that it would be, but we have to deal with reality as it is. And reality today is that everybody and his brother has a gun. Most criminals have guns. A lot of law-abiding citizens have guns. Everybody has guns. Teens have guns. Children have guns. And in America, we are too far gone to kind of like bury our heads in the sand and say, well, guns are bad, they're horrible, they kill people, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they are horrible and they do kill people. But now we don't want to deal with a utopian reality that we would have hoped for. We have to deal with reality as it is. And the reality is that the Constitution, coupled with the good work of the NRA, I'm being sarcastic, have basically bred a citizenry that is violent, that loves army, that loves guns, that loves rifles, that loves hunting, loves war, is easily talked into going to war and signing up. So basically things are what they are and it is what it is. So now that we have this situation where we have a violent nation where everybody at the drop of a hat will pull a gun and start shooting people, what is the solution? Can we really expect to remove all these guns from all these bad people? I just don't think that's realistic. I would love for that to be the truth and to be the case, but I don't think it's going to ever happen. We are just too far gone. So with that in mind, what can be an alternate solution, in my opinion, is that most Americans should have guns. And we should not basically make it difficult for them to have guns. It is not difficult already, but some states are more difficult than others. So I believe that most Americans should be armed in light of the situation. And in this kind of scheme, you would have what we call the bad guys basically being afraid of walking into a movie theater and shooting people that they don't know, or going to a restaurant and holding up people, or going to a bank, because they know that pretty much everybody can and will probably have a gun on them. So they're not going to make it out alive. With this in mind, I think these bad guys will think twice before engaging in something that is so risky. Somebody had proposed that school teachers would be armed, and I think it caused an outrage among some people. I totally understand the outrage, and I really empathize. But unfortunately, is there an alternative? I think people should be armed. Teachers should be armed. Directors should be armed. The deans should be armed if they want to. I mean, we're not forcing anybody. I'm not recommending we force people to be armed. But I think anybody that would want it and has passed a mental health check should be armed in a school, because there are too many school shootings. If most of these school shootings ended up in the guy being shot like in the first minutes and saving lives, I think you'd see the tide turn in favor of arming teachers. I also want to emphasize that with this idea that I'm coming up with, which is nothing special, but with this scheme, I don't think every single person would opt for buying a gun or using a gun. I wouldn't. I don't know how to use a gun, and I wouldn't buy a gun. But I'm saying most people, most Americans, are not foreign to that object, and they're not as afraid of it as I would be. So I think with that in mind, most people would have it. Most people that would want it and would consider defending others and themselves would buy a gun, and I think streets would be safer. I also want to emphasize that what I'm preaching here is just an idea, and I do not believe that this idea is good for 98% of the countries around the world, maybe with the exception of the favelas in Rio, in Brazil, where crime is rampant and people are being attacked, for very little reason or because they get caught in gang fights and things like that. Perhaps, I'm not certain this is the best idea, but I think I would consider it there. One place I would consider definitely making this a law, it would be in Sicily, where the mafia can just come in and ask for your money, and if you don't pay, you're basically going to get killed or whatever. If every single store owner was equipped with a gun and allowed to shoot these people with more shootings, yeah, we're going to go through a bad period for sure. But after a while, the mafia would think about it twice. So everything I'm saying in this video is really kind of crazy in a way, but we have to deal with reality. And in French, they say au grand mot les grands remèdes, which means when there's a big ill where you have to have a big solution. We cannot take this with kids' gloves, and we cannot basically deny facts that are in the trenches here. The facts are that most criminals are weaponized and have arsenals. What are we going to do about it? In closing, this has to be accompanied in America, especially with one obvious law that the NRA is opposed to, and I do not know why. I may know why, but I'm not sure that it even makes sense. Even their reasoning doesn't make any sense to me, which is that we have to reduce the size of magazines. Why do we need even a 10 round magazine? Why? I think 10 is too much. If it was 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that at the most, and you'd have to reload every time, well, for sure we wouldn't have mass shootings. But these 100 rounds, 20, 30, 40 semi-automatic rifles can only produce one thing, which is more death before we have a chance to intervene. So this is just a quick video where I wanted to share these thoughts. I don't think I have it down. I don't think I got the solution completely settled and without loose ends. I believe there's so much more that can be done, but this is just an idea. I'm not kidding. I do believe that Americans should have more guns as things stand today. Thank you for watching.